Hello everyone, welcome to the Overman channel where I discuss Little Nightmares theories, share my art, and more. Today, I want to discuss a theory I had in regards to the upcoming enemy in Little Nightmares 3, the Monster Baby. With what we have learned about the world of the Nowhere throughout past media, I believe the Monster Baby can help us learn more about the mysterious locations that we visit in the Nowhere, and about their life cycles. In Little Nightmares 2, we see the Black Tower. The Black Tower is seemingly normal until we explore it a bit further, remove 6 as a host, and it starts to come alive. This structure was a living organism the whole time. The wilderness and Pale City both seem to be islands, assuming the body of water that separates them also surrounds them. In the concept art, we see concepts for the trees in the wilderness spilling out what looks like meat. I do think that it could go either way with it being stuffing. It could be stuffing fitting with the whole hunter taxidermy thing, but I think it also kind of looks like the meat from the flesh walls in the Black Tower, so for the sake of this theory, I'm going to go with the idea that that was the intention. There's also some concepts where we see it looks like the whole cityscape has turned into this weird flesh monster thing. While cut content and concept art cannot be considered as evidence, I do think at the very least it gives us a glimpse into the thought process of the developers. I think that their thought process, their intent, was for the whole location to be alive in some capacity. All of the wilderness is a living creature, all of the city is a living creature. We see again this concept of a living location with both the mall from the Sounds of Nightmares episode 3 and even the maw from the first game. The mall is alive like the Black Tower is, and the maw has been described with terms that apply to living things. The life cycle of the maw, that furnace being the heart of it, it's been described to crawl along the ocean depths. I feel like this personification of the maw implies it could very well be alive in the same way that the tower is. I believe in some capacity, each location in the Nowhere is alive and its own entity. The tower is the brain of the Pale City, the whole city resides in this island, that island being a living creature in and of itself. The maw has a mouth, has a heart, is like a living creature. I think these eldritch creatures exist in this vast sea, the sea being like space, and these eldritch beings being like planets. Think of these creatures as being like organelles in a cell, or just like creatures who live in either symbiosis or in solitude. There lies a creature that supplies materials to another creature, wherever the guests come from, shipping guests to feed the maw. Or the Pale City and the mall being notoriously lonely, those creatures living in solitude. I think with this interpretation in mind, it could give us a good idea as to the upcoming necropolis. For more information on this whole idea of the cosmology of the Nowhere, where this big idea of the sea comes from, I suggest watching Indie Explorer's video on this. It's very informative, very insightful, and I personally think it was a really well done theory. With this idea in mind, looking at the necropolis, I think we can sleuth out what exactly it is. It is one of these creatures that has died. The necropolis is the corpse of one of these eldritch beings. The maw is alive, the Pale City is alive, the necropolis is not. I think the necro in necropolis doesn't refer to how all the denizens all died, but referring to the city, the opolis, the city itself being dead. This is the corpse of a massive being. Now, what does the Monster Baby have anything to do with this? It looks stylistically very different to the necropolis, and it's very different to any other resident we've seen. Let's bring back the concept art from earlier. We see the Monster Baby being a scrapped concept for the flesh walls in the tower. What I think this could have implied, especially regarding the Monster Baby, was that in some capacity, the Black Tower was feeding on the viewers, children, other denizens to create a Monster Baby. The Monster Baby in the concept art literally being a baby version of these eldritch creatures. The necropolis was dying, so it harvested the life of the dwellers, turning them to stone in the process, in order to create an offspring, the Monster Baby. If the Monster Baby is a baby version of one of these creatures, compare it to the maw and the nest. If these areas in the nowhere are alive, it stands to reason that the nest and maw having the petrifying eyes built into their structure, this eye ability being shared with the baby, could be an ability that these certain creatures have. Some creatures in the nowhere have the built-in ability to have that petrifying gaze. The baby could slowly evolve into another city like the necropolis is. The necropolis architecture looks to be made of a rudimentary mud or clay brick, the next step for a more refined clay being ceramic or porcelain, like the monster baby's head. The monster baby could be like a butterfly, the necropolis being reborn into a more sophisticated version of itself. The monster baby could grow up into a city once again, made of clay but being more sophisticated clay. The idea that these eldritch entities being born looking like human children could be another representation thematically of how the nowhere robs children of their innocence and exploits them for its own gain. The maw houses and farms children to feed guests, which it will then subsequently eat. The maw eats the guests who eat the kids who come from the maw in this strange, almost cyclical ecosystem. The Pale City literally falls apart if it isn't harvesting a child. 6 temporarily, or as we see at the end of Little Nightmares 2, mono. These creatures in the nowhere can't exist. They starve to death and fall apart if they aren't exploiting and feeding on children. This idea makes it thematically ironic that the way these creatures either make more creatures or rebirth themselves or whatever making an offspring means, it's ironic that they have the form of a human baby, full of innocence. The innocent and playful baby growing up and twisting into a gluttonous, greedy, exploitative monster could very well be reflecting a child's loss of innocence and even life in the nowhere. The nowhere is a predator preying on children, finding the most anguished and disturbed children and baiting them into a better life only to capture them, trap them in this alternative realm, and then slowly eat at them until they fade away. This is how the nowhere works. Bait children into escaping into this nightmare realm, feed off of them, and eventually sprout a new creature that will grow into a new location that will eventually feed off of children's pain and anguish that it was originally born from. Little Nightmares has a very big theme of cycles of abuse, cycles of pain and desolation. It only makes sense that these eldritch creatures that feed off of these cycles of pain are originally born from that pain as well. The monster baby tells us the nature of the nowhere, filled with these creatures that exist in these cycles of pain and desolation, feeding on children so they can make more creatures, these creatures being born innocent, slowly losing their innocence, reflecting the child's loss of innocence it will then feed off of. The whole game is this endless cycle. The whole franchise revolves around this endless cycle of pain. Thank you for watching. This has been my theory about the monster baby and how she was the key to solving how the locations in the nowhere work. If you like this video, like the video. If you agreed with my theory or feel I may have missed the mark, leave a comment and tell me your thoughts. And if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe. I have a lot of projects in the work and I'd hate for you to miss them, as I, personally, no bias at all, think they're pretty cool. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.